Howdy all, I'm running straight back off of where I finished up on the last one because I'm trying to finish putting this fuel pump together, and that's why I'm going to quickly show through exactly how to pull the damn thing apart. First up, on the lower casing, you're going to have tabs around the edge. You need to pry up and pop the top half out, as you will see on the other end. I've got sitting over here. No, I don't. Where did I put it? Apparently I put it next to it. On this casing here, you will have the tabs around the edge. Yeah, they need to come up and off. Along with that, there'll be the secondary fuel hose, which goes across the other side of the CrewMud fuel tank, pops out there and there. That pops out. There will be a small circlip attached on the bottom of one of the metal bars, I guess. Looks like this. That needs to pop off. That casing will come out. Unplug the bottom half of the casing, unplug the top, which that one's the fuel pump. The other one is the earth in there. That's all in the fuel pump section. Hello Luna, how you doing? The bottom, where this is, that can just pull straight off the bottom. There wasn't anything locking or latching it on. Then on the inside here, you'll need to get a small screwdriver in that side, which will push out the tabs that you can see in the sides in there, which holds in the normal fuel pump. Now, basically what we're going to do is try and fit the Walbro 255 that I've got in this housing and undo that all. And I'm going to fix my fuel line wiring while I'm in there. Now, when popping the fuel pump back together, make sure to take the O-ring either off the top of there. Now, as I'm editing this, I'm realizing a small mistake which I have made, which I probably should have realized as I was doing it. It's been a few months since I did the fuel pump now, because it was before I moved to Bathurst. So I'm not 100% certain why I didn't take. As you can see on that old fuel pump there is a small black clip, and that one, I'm pretty certain, has to be on the end of the new fuel pump so that it actually seals and sends the pressure up through the fuel pump housing, because the CrewMud one is odd and weird compared to the normal Commodore one. I do end up finding out that my fuel pump has an issue in a later point because we tried to get the motor to start properly and it did not have enough fuel pressure. So I'm assuming that right there I will have to fix, which will come up in the next episode. Or it's still going to be up in there and through the top. It needs to go on the top of the fuel pump before it gets popped in. Plug will go into the top there, the one that came in your kit. And the most important part of the thing, I don't know if about it for other models, but for CrewMud, you are going to need a flat fuel sock, as this is not going to fit otherwise, as your aftermarket fuel pumps are slightly longer than the stock CrewMud fuel pumps. That is probably the most important part. It's not going to fit back in that unless it's flat. Like, even if you look at that one, it's up and offset. That one, it's got height. It needs to be flat. Once the fuel pump's back together, it's a matter of just cutting these wires and cutting all of these ones. It came with crimps, so I'm just going to use crimps. I don't care. I may have to pull this apart later anyway. I don't care. But this will work. Yeah, here we have one fuel pump reassembled. And not only that, I've also tightened in where the wires go into the pins, so that shouldn't fall out again, hopefully. That can go back in the tank. And I've got to wait for a little bit, honestly. So I've got to wait on, one of my mates, Morgan, has managed to line up a deal for me where old mate has got there's a bloke we know who's got a flooded Cross 8 CrewMud he's planning on pulling the motor from, and I'm going to take the rest of the shell. So that is where my brake line's going to come from, and a couple other little bits and pieces as far as this doesn't end up happening. So we're just going to completely fucking skip that entire section and go on to the next. It has been a long ass time since I've worked on Crewy. Why? I moved to Bathurst and obviously could not take it with me to Kirkon there because I did not have any of the space in the new place that I'm in. So I've had to wait until Easter long weekend, which is why we're here now. Finally back working on the Crewy. God, I'm hoping to get it done this Easter long weekend, but there's a lot of work to be done. It's going to be tight. Now, while I have been away at least, what I've gone and done is collected most of the rest of the parts that I needed to finish off the Crewy. So we have all the flares from across 6, including the side skirts. I'm going to use my original red one because it's the same as this. That's because I don't want the big chunky cross 8 flares anymore, I've decided. So all that's going to be sold off. I don't want to be mucking around finding infill panels and that when I lose them. So I'd rather the single piece side skirt. Then I also went ahead and I've got engine mounts, which I ended up going to Autobarn and getting found. So they're in here. And then I have finally a rear brake line kit set from a Cross 8 over in Sydney. Come here. This right here. This is the part that has deluded me trying to get full CrewMud for this conversion. So it has the independent braking in both sides. So, for this, the old proportion valve, found in most utes and Crewmans, that's got to be deleted. That gets taken out completely and just runs the brake line gear from these boys. This part here, that bolt bolts to the diff obviously. These are the lines that go to either side of the diff. I reckon I can either use my original lines or I can use the ones that are on this. We're going to see. Doesn't really matter either way. So I'm hoping that I can use the original rear brake line that was from the Crewy for one side. Pretty sure that one's bolted straight into my left rear on the ABS module. So we're going to go ahead and use the other line from the Addy, shorten it down and put the other fitting on it from one of the spare brake lines I took off of the original ABS module. The ones that's a 13mm size instead of the 10mm size ones. And then put the double flare on the end of it using a double flare tool. Sorry, bubble flare on it using a double flare tool, using the flat side in order to make that sort of pop straight in. That should be our rear brake lines. And that is what I'm going to be trying to take care of today. We're going to try and finish everything that's under the tub in this episode. I nearly forgot too, the other part that I picked up. Can't see it very easily, but down in there is another K-frame for a Cross 8. So means that what I can do, the bushings in my one were buggered. If it's easy to see, they're buggered up in there. So what we're going to do is pull that K-frame out, put the engine mounts that I bought straight on it, bolt the motor onto that, so that the whole thing's rolling, so that we can roll it under, chuck it straight back in the same way that we pulled it out of the other thing, without having to worry about having it already in the air, K-frame out. I do still need to, when I drop the K-frame out of the Crewman that's in it now, I do need to swap the steering rack over. It is the only other thing, which is fine, because next episode I'm going to be doing all the lines for the transcooler and the Astra power steering anyway. Nice. So I've gone ahead and removed all the old bumper and front paneling. That's a terrible angle. All the front bumper, bonnet, guards, all that's been removed from the front. Seeing as the guards, the side skirts, and the rear Addy flares are going to another bloke, I'm not going to be using those ones anymore. Seeing as I've got obviously the stuff from the Cross 6. And I've also gone ahead and removed all the wheels. So I'm going to try and get in this double brake line bracket and whatnot onto the back of the diff here. That way I can start working on the line that has to go along the firewall, because I still have to remove the old brake line. Not remove the old brake line, but remove the bracket so I can actually get in to put in the new brake line. But I also think I'm going to have to remove it anyway, the old one, as I don't reckon I'm going to be able to bubble flare the new fitting on with it still in the car. Bit of a hassle. So I've removed the old brake line from off of the diff along with the proportion valve. That's as simple as 10mm flared spanners on both sides for the brake lines there. 17mm for the bolts that hold the propulsion valve up, and another 10mm flared spanner for that one as well, which is that one rear brake line. Then it's just a matter of folding the tabs up, and the bracket there is a 13mm bolt on the side, on the back. Same bolt, which will be used to hold the new one on as well anyway. Now, I probably could have taken the time to bend these lines so they're attached and looked a bit prettier. One side's fine. The other side just didn't want to play ball. And could I care? Nope. It attaches. It works. It's... I'm going to stop when I put my foot on the ground. Realistically, I think I want to swap these lines out eventually anyway for when I want to do something with a bit more droop if we get a bit more flex in the rear of this thing anyway. So, oh well, I'll use those lines for now. Keep the other ones in case I need spares. Now, amazingly, unlike the river nuts I'm going to have to put in my frame for the gearbox cross member, you don't have to put in the holes for the bracket for the other brake lines, for the independent. Obviously there was the proportion valve. Holden already has the threads in the chassis right sitting there. I have the 2 bolts for it. And that's in all your CrewMud models. They're already there waiting. Even though that part right there has nothing to do with anything the rear wheel drive ones. It's only the all wheel drives. It's there. It's good to go. Cheering. So I've gone ahead with the new brake line flaring tool kit that I bought and made some test bubbles. These ones here. This one looks alright. It's a little fat, so I may just go a little less material than the last one. But using this fucked fitting that I have sitting here, that looks pretty factory, pretty nice. If it focus nicer. It's not going to. Anyway, it looks like it'll fit in nicely doing it that way. I had to do it with a vise over here, but I'm kind of hoping that I can do this one in the car. So I only have to crack open the mounts and put in the second brake line. I don't really want to bugger around with pulling it out to do it, to then put it back in. Because that sounds like a hassle to me. So, I've already cut it. I'm going to cut it back a little further so it's on the straight section up here. I've got to find out my brake line bending tool and bend it so it goes across, because this one's the one for the left side, not for the right. The right side I've got to go grab a line from the Addy wreck and, yeah, then bend it into place as well. Plus flare on the right thing, seeing as my right side needs 10mm, like I said, and the left side needs a 13. And originally that one had a 10, so I need to put 13 on it. Which is all good. I've got spares, seeing as we don't have that piece of shit anymore. Couldn't find the brake line bending tool, so I was just lazy and just bent it myself. Can't even see it from up here. I don't know why I'm up here. It's in. I flared it. Bolted into the hole where it needs to be. And I went on a walkabout and went and got the other Addy line. I need to get this one here off, this far one, which is the one that goes all the way up the front into this side. So I need to pull him out of this pack and cut and bend. Pretty certain he should be long enough. If he's not, I'm going to be sad. But he's already got a 10mm on the back too, so I'm hoping I don't have to re-flare him. I can just bend him to bolt in. Fingers crossed. So after going and grabbing that line and pulling it out, I can guarantee, even after straightening, it is definitely not long enough to reach all the way up to the brake line there. However, that's fine. We still have the other one that normally reaches all the way up to the other side of the Addy. It's got all this extra length, so I'm going to just try and bend it into the correct shape, including that bit at the front. Just re-bend it so that it suits, or I may even cut it and re-flare it so that it matches the right bend of the other one. But it should definitely have, well look, it's already sitting up there in the front, and it's got all the way to the back corner here, plus all this extra line. I can't see it being too short. After a little bit of screwing around, I have managed to mostly bend this other one into the correct shape for it to go up over there, and it is up and in the bracket over there. Now it's just a matter of me taking it back out, taking it over to the bench so I can put the fitting on it, and then I will get undo all of the actual brackets in there and push it into place as best I can. And after that bit of tinkering, I've managed to slot the blinds straight into the mounts, including the one up on the chassis on the side there, and the fitting is done. We have both brake lines installed, meaning that now it's only a matter of getting a lot of that extra drivetrain in. And I think that's pretty well everything I want to do under the back of the tub here for now. That's the brake line system, that's the fuel system. I'm gonna hope the fuel system's gonna work. I haven't tested it. I'm not gonna bother testing it because I don't want all the fuel to come straight out in the front fuel lines. Right at the front, because that'll be a mess to clean up. So I'm gonna leave this one here, and as much as I'm gonna jump straight across into working with the drivetrain and the new keyframe that I have sitting on the ground over here, just there, and thanks to a lady at the auto barn, she managed to find me some engine mounts. That's all going to go in on the next step. Because, yeah. Oh well, that's a solid amount of work. Cheers for watching, and I will catch you once I have my LS.